Aloha and welcome to the Neutral Zone, MauiNeutralZone.com. I'm your host, Jason Schwartz. We are on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui. We're also on Akaku Maui Community Media. We're also on YouTube. We're also at MauiNeutralZone.com. You'll find all of our shows and a link to all that we're doing. Anyway, we are progressing through January of 2021, and we're right at the beginning of a new presidency for a new president, Joseph Biden and Kamala Harris. President Trump, former President Trump now, is beginning the potential of a second impeachment going on here in Congress. And lots to do with the economy, lots to do with the environment, all kinds of executive orders. One of these times we're going to have a call in so that you guys will be able to speak and voice your opinions. I just know that opinions at this point, there's so many opinions out there now. The most important thing is to be open to seeing what's right for you and trying to make your life better, I bet, huh? We are fortunate in some ways. Our numbers in COVID have stayed low relative to elsewhere. I know here on the islands, when you hear 20 and 30 a day, that's a lot. And new cases, thank goodness, no deaths and very little, but it's staying out of clusters. It's staying socially distant, washing your hands, and being responsible if you're sick to not be out and about. And if you've got a cold and stuff, don't share it. I know that's easy to say. And sometimes you can't help but have to be out. But I would keep that, out of don't get that one out of control because that's what's going on the mainland. We are so fortunate we have so many outside environments here rather than only strictly inside. But obviously, this COVID thing is something yet. And then the fact that some of us want vaccines and others of us say, no, I don't want vaccine. No, no, no. And there are all kinds of stories attached, but makes for a complicated mix. And our economy locally, I saw that the state of Hawaii's unemployment rate went down to like 9.3. I always wonder what that really means. And it's, a fluctuating thing based on what's going on here. Hopefully we're going to be coming right back with lots of employment. I'm hoping that some of the larger employers have the means to carry a lot of their people, and hopefully bookings will start again. I know that they talk about business tourism coming back in 2024. That may be a nation thing. Somehow here in Hawaii, I figure they are more Johnny on the spot to regrow their business. They probably have a shorter frame for business. But someone told me that one of the hotels was going to be 80% full in February. Here in January, it's something in the 20s and maybe 30s. But they're talking about numbers that high. We'll find out. And there's a lot of stuff going on. I know in Kihei, when you drive through Kihei, people that are looking at the upper highway, now there's talk about a roundabout being put there in front of the school. I'm not sure what that's going to do. It's such an interesting thing that our island has grown, and the roadways, even the plans for the roadways, seem terribly insufficient. And we don't want to see it built out to be up or low or middle. That means all that much more development. When in fact, we need to do some of that kind of stuff that makes sense for affordable housing and stop this, I want to call it runaway, all the way out to McKenna, now further, all the way out, almost, if not to looks like to La Perouse, all the building and development, all the way out, all luxury, all multi-million dollar estates, and even condos, multi-million-dollar condos and houses, and so much affordable needed. Well, we got a goal of 5,000, is it, in the next handful of years. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I don't mean a lot of employment. I'd also like to see some smart alternative developments. You know, you probably, many of you know that I'm the director of something called the Maui Arts and Music Association, which is, we're going to put shows at our website, mauiartsandmusic.org. The cultural center is mauiarts.org, but we're mauiartsandmusic.org, and we're going to have shows at all kinds of different venues. In fact, we're going to probably invite the MAC to be part of us, because we're not one to swallow it all up. We're going to be like an umbrella. We are an umbrella, but we have to be used that way. And in these times, with things being virtual and things now going on the web, the understanding of the value of a marketing center that's Maui Arts and Music, that can encompass tourism, that can encompass visual things and activities and visual art and healing art and music and culture and the islands, and to be able to share that with the world. And the money that we make and bring in, we are going to be buying products to put into housing. So environment, let's say, if you look at the website, you'll see there are three main categories that we deal with: hydrogen, HHO, which for long-term tourism; health retreats for people that want to be able to enjoy different things with hydrogen. There's a whole industry there. The world knows hydrogen. The United States a little bit slow on the trigger here, too slow. But we're beginning to change, and that's what we're talking about: being with the head of the curve and having the technology that is the top of the line and manufactured. In fact, some of it here. In fact, the best one from here. And then soil regeneration. That's a whole area you'll see up there. And then water from air. Can you imagine if we have power and water from air? That means we can use land that otherwise might have been considered challenging to build on, and thereby leave more agriculture land and other lands open so that housing can be around instead of taking the prime land, still leaving the open space and being able to use things because of the power and water decentralized. You'd like to have your own water and your own power, in fact, and how to finance it all, how to create the building, and how to create structures that aren't very, very expensive, and what we can do to use the emergency designation now to build some temporary solutions that would help a lot of people. And from there, find a way to construct and get those people, many of them, to be working toward integration, toward a future that really employs more people and creates solutions that we didn't think were possible. Imagine if we also employ the Hawaiian culture and their methods and the culture, and embrace that and share that with the world, and share the music and the art to the world. And all of it together, self-sustainability model, and we live in it. That's what I'm talking about. So here on radio, you can't see me, but on TV, you're wondering, I am sitting at a place, you've seen me do some shows here. This is the studio that is in Kailui. We are now all with our home studios. And Zoom, you know, used to say Zoom for a fast car. Now it's for your internet, you know, and you look to see, oops, am I muted? You can even hear the beeping in the background from someone backing up. In just a few minutes, we're going to have Al Perez, the executive director of Maui Tomorrow, and he's going to be talking about whatever he's going to be talking about. You know, Maui Tomorrow is an organization, been here as long as I have. I remember way back when I was on the board of the Sierra Club, and Maui Tomorrow was in its infancy, but they've been doing important work for a long time. And, you know, many of you may know Albert Perez as the head of Maui Tomorrow, but years ago, Albert Perez, Rick Sands, Dr. Rick Sands, and attorney Anthony Rankin were the core of SPAM, State Park at McKenna, one of the main reasons that we still have a state park at McKenna. So there are people doing a lot of good for a long time. And Maui Tomorrow right now has been active on a few things, and Al will be talking about that and tell you what's going on now. In 2021, in these COVID times, I say that in a funny way. You know, these times, if you keep your distance, I've been okay, but I really feel sorry for the people that are cloistered together on the mainland, but really no choice, and indoor in the winter. Tough time. God willing, we'll all get through this, and here we are now. We have a guest that's been on here before, and people in Maui know him and love him because his name is Albert Perez, and he's the head of Maui Tomorrow. Someone said, "What is Maui Tomorrow about?" That sounds like it.
Sum it up, we're about preserving the quality of life on Maui. So, you know, there's a lot to love about our island here, and it needs to be protected because there are people from around the world who would like to exploit what we have here and make money without regard for the consequences on those of us who live here.
Yeah, well, I was sharing with the audience that state park at McKenna, there wouldn't be a McKenna beach quite like we've got now if it wasn't for your efforts so long ago. So thank you for that, and for incredible life of service. You were away from Maui for a while, but came back. Where were you when you left?
Oh, I went up to Washington State. I just want to say that as far as McKenna, most of that work started in the 80s before I moved from Oahu to Maui in 1988. So the people who were with me who started Maui Tomorrow had already been working on the McKenna State Park for probably 5 years before I arrived. So that would be Rick Sands, Anthony Rankin, and a whole host of other people. There were 4,000 people who were members of a group called State Park at McKenna.
Yeah.
So they got the ball rolling, and then Rick and Anthony were co-directors of Maui Tomorrow when we finished the job, and that's when I was around. So I can't take credit for McKenna myself, but I did help some at the end.
Well, I like giving you credit because, to me, because you were in the planning department and you know the rules, I think that always helps when it comes to all that's going on around here. How are they doing on rules now? Any things that are going on that we should keep our eyes on right now?
Yeah, we're actually quite concerned about a couple of things that the planning department is pushing. One of them is streamlining the special management area regulations, the rules of the Maui Planning Commission. So the Maui Planning Commission makes decisions in the shoreline area on what's called a special management area permit. It's an additional permit. It's supposed to be, because our coastal zone requires extra special attention, we all get, we're all affected by, we benefit from and are affected by the coastal zone. So anyway, the state set up this coastal zone management law, and the counties administer the coastlines through the special management area. There are a lot of activities that you're supposed to just check with the planning department to make sure that it's not going to have any impact on the coastal zone. The planning department feels that there are a lot of things that they shouldn't be reviewing, and they're trying to streamline things by declaring them to be okay up front. And we are very concerned that that's going to lead to some kinds of abuses if the planning department doesn't have a chance to at least review what they're doing. I'm not concerned about someone changing a doorknob in their house or painting the inside of their house, but if we're exempting things like 300 square foot concrete slab that you can do up to once a year, those are the kinds of things that um, I think might have a cumulative impact over time if they're not monitored. And
Is
so
that
that's what
one of
we're
them
very,
by example? Is that one of
yes,
them?
that's one example.
Oh,
So I forget if it's 300 or 400 square feet, but you can do one of those every 12 months.
so to limit their need for taking care of something, they're just letting it go. But the impact is that's what you're talking about. I get it.
Yeah, and I understand. It's a process. It's busy, but that is their responsibility under the Coastal Zone Management Act. So we're very concerned about this effort to quote unquote streamline the shoreline management rules. Um,
Are we doing anything to stop people from building when we know that the sea level is rising? Is that just nothing we can? I mean, I don't know how to
so that's the other thing. In the same update, they're also updating the shoreline setback rules. So right now we have shoreline setback rules that are based on the erosion rate in a particular area, and that's good. When Maui adopted it, that was pretty advanced in terms of what other people were doing across the state. But now that we know about sea level rise, and the state adopted an assumption, I'm trying to simplify it here, but the assumption is that the sea level is going to rise 3.2 meters by the end of the century, I believe. And so they've gone ahead and mapped that out, and it goes pretty far inland. There are structures there, people are living in that area that are structures are worth billions of dollars. But the sea is going to come, and if we want to preserve our beaches, we need to number one, stop building seawalls, and number two, stop building structures that are going to be in harm's way that people are going to want to protect later. So it's going to be quite a battle. I think the property developers are opposed to it, but really, Jason, nature bats last.
That's right.
If you have a seawall and the sea level is rising, the water table is going to rise behind the seawall. You'll start getting sinkholes, and you're going to lose your property anyway. So it's better for people to build behind this line. So the state delineated a line that's 3.2 feet of sea level rise inland. And so it's better to just have people build behind that line. Now we're finding out that the 3.2 feet may be a very conservative estimate. Now they're talking 6 feet or maybe even 8 feet by the end of the century, if you can imagine that. So some people, huh?
I can't imagine. I can't imagine that anybody would think to build on the shore now. I mean, once you know that, aren't you? Unless you're just living for today, like the Romans at the end there, So I'll just keep drinking till we fall over. Are we doing that? Sounds like we are.
I think some of us are, but some of us definitely are trying to be a little more forward-looking than that.
Well, I mean, you watch the realtors now, and their focus is that shoreline property is so high. I can't imagine. How do you lead that? You start. I don't know. It's a tough one.
Well, I don't want to put all realtors in the same boat. There are many who are opposed to this kind of regulation, but there are some who recognize that the INA is important and we all have to live here. The other thing that's happening it's already happening. Some structures are already being destroyed by shoreline erosion, and in some cases, especially out on the west side, you can see stairwells, concrete stairwells that have fallen down onto the beach, and they're interrupting people's ability to walk along the beach. So what's going to happen to all these owners when they find that they can't afford to upkeep their properties and they just walk away?
Yeah.
It's enough of a
Planet of
problem
the
with the
Apes.
existing
Remember Planet
structures.
of the Apes? I mean, maybe you don't look at it the same, but I mean, that's what we're talking about. Just just leave it there and become rubble and change our whole society, the whole everything.
It's been a long time since I saw that movie. I remember the Statue of Liberty was almost buried and they were riding horses or something.
That's exactly what I remember. That's why I mentioned it. I think about these stairwells that are falling, and then, like you say, there's no real incentive to clean it up, so it changes everything. So is that what's going to happen? I wonder.
Yeah. So we have existing structures that are in harm's way, in the next 80 years. Why should we add more structures that are in harm's way? And I think that's what the purpose of the Shoreline Rule Amendment is. We support that.
Sure.
So,
wow.
Yep.
What else is going on here in Maui? I mean, you guys have been involved in so many things that have been, it's almost like, it's not vindication because you've been just champions. Thing about the injection wells with the county, that's was going on for a long time. Have they handled that yet? Is that all handled, or is it still in process?
That's gone back to court. We're not actually involved in that directly, although we do support the efforts of some of the other groups like the Hawaii Wildlife Fund and the Sierra Club in that regard, and we testify on those issues, but we're not part of that lawsuit. My understanding is that it has been sent back. The Supreme Court ruled in their favor, and it's been sent back to the lower court to make a decision and apply the tests that the Supreme Court prescribed. I think the main test is to determine if the injection wells are functionally equivalent to a direct discharge into the ocean, which I believe they are. So that's what's going on with that. I've been spending a lot of time lately on the community planning process. So the West Maui Community Plan is currently being, it's going to go before the council starting on Thursday. So it went through the Community Plan Advisory Committee, and they came up with a draft. They spent 37 meetings that were probably 3 hours long each. So how many hours is that? It's over 100 hours just sitting in the meetings, discussing these things, not to mention all the prep time. And a lot of people testify. So I really believe in the community plans as the expression of the vision of the community. And I think that they should be enforced. And the problem is that if the community plan is not worded properly, then it won't be enforceable. If you use language like, oh, this should happen, or it'd be really nice if all the ag land would stay undeveloped. That's not an enforceable statement. If you say instead that ag land shall be used for agriculture, the word shall is enforceable. So that's kind of the battle. And the Community Plan Advisory Committee, I'm just generalizing here. They made a lot of things much more specific and enforceable. And then when it went over to the Planning Commission, there were some changes that made it less so.
Planning Commission, well, those are all appointed positions, right? Can they be ousted?
No. Well, there might be a way, but
Once
appointed by the mayor. So I'm just looking at an example here. The Community Plan Advisory Committee had a policy that said require public and private water purveyors to coordinate water development in order to optimize pumpage and mitigate impacts on streams, etc. the Planning Commission is recommending that the word require be changed to encourage, which is not enforceable. So
Well,
that's
why
just
would they do that? Why was that a developer? I mean, what's your hit? Why would they do that?
I don't know. You can't make generalizations about people just because they have a certain profession.
No,
But
well, you said encourage, and I can't imagine a planning commission wanting to weaken that. That's why I'm saying it that way. And maybe it is a profession doing it, but what is that?
They wanted the water purveyors to have flexibility instead of to be required to do something. So, but that's exactly the problem. If it doesn't say require, then it's not an enforceable policy. And that's what I've been trying to push and get people to understand, that if they want all the time they spend putting these community plans, putting their vision into the community plans, if they want all that time to be spent and not wasted,
right,
then it needs to be enforceable. If it's not enforceable, then they might as well have just gone and had a beer instead.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Were you here in Wailuku when they did a charrette about that parking lot thing maybe 20 years ago? Maybe a little more.
No, well, they've been doing those things for a long time.
Oh.
The Wailuku parking lot, it's not something that we got involved in. I have my own personal feelings about it, but Maui Tomorrow's mission is about preserving open space and, preserving the quality of life. Part of that is to concentrate development in urban areas so it doesn't sprawl out into rural areas. So that's what we try to do. And if they're going to be developing a parking structure in the middle of town, it's not something that we would object to based on our mission. So we didn't get involved in that. On the other hand, we did get involved in the Wailuku Hotel project because we've got enough visitor accommodations on this island and then some. We've got way too many. So we had a campaign against the Wailuku Hotel. It seems to be on hold at this point. And we'll see what happens with that. But we got, I believe, 3,500 petition signatures, and we encouraged people to comment on the environmental assessment. And I believe there were about 1,000 people who commented on the environmental assessment. So we'll see what happens with that. I've heard that the project is on hold, but I'm pretty sure that the developer still wants to go ahead at some point and build a hotel there. We don't think it's appropriate, and we don't think we need any more visitor accommodations on the island.
And you don't think it would enhance Wailuku? That's what I'm guessing, basically. Okay.
No, Wailuku is a refuge for local people. Need a refuge from tourism, just to be very blunt. Where people can be themselves and not feel like they're always on display. Wailuku is still a cool old town, and it's coming back. It had its heyday, and then it went into decline around the 60s, 70s. But it seems to be coming back now with the Friday night parties. Of course, COVID has done a number on all kinds of businesses.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite restaurants in Wailuku have gone out of business because they don't have any customers. But I don't think a 6-story hotel is appropriate there. Maybe a 20-room hotel. See, that's the thing. There's a history of hotels in Wailuku, but they're all much smaller than this 156-room monstrosity that's being proposed.
Gotcha.
The Wailuku Grand, hotels like that, that are not there anymore, but there are maybe 20 rooms or so. And that right now is the limit on hotels in the Wailuku redevelopment area, according to the rules that they've adopted. So this developer is asking for a variance to go up to 156 rooms. That's quite a variance.
I got you. I mean, I know that I forgot his first name, Baskin. They're in Paia. Built.
Yes, Michael Baskin.
Michael.
Yes.
And he kept it within reason within the area. That's what you're talking about. You're building to the size and make of an environment rather than dominating the environment. That's been the issue.
Well, I don't know if I would characterize it that way. You know,
oh yeah,
there was a lot of opposition to what he was trying to do there. A lot of people came out and opposed that. And one of the effects of these proposed special management area rule changes that I mentioned initially, one of the effects of those changes is going to be that a change in use is not going to require a permit anymore. So something like Mr. Baskin's project would just have occurred and not had any review by the planning department.
Wow.
Yeah, well, so that's very significant.
Very significant.
Yep. So we're trying to push back on that.
When you guys are under deadline, like now, when you have a deadline, what are you pushing for? Presentations to different groups, or where is the thrust of your current activity now?
Well, it depends on the issue. Right now, the West Maui Community Plan is coming up before the Planning and Sustainable Land Use Committee on Thursday at 9 a.m. Right. So we're trying to propose some amendments to the language that would make the plan enforceable. And so, I don't know, it's just the first meeting. But I know that Councilmember Paulton wants to approve everything before the budget starts in late March. So we've got about 2 months to get through the whole thing and make any changes that the council wants to make. So we need to kind of just make our case to the various council members and also to the public. I've been working with the Community Plan Advisory Committee members to help them understand what the problems are with the existing language. And so then we'll see what happens on February 4th. So
if ever you would like to link anything from our pages to assist in getting people to your issues, please just say the word. Happy to help.
I will. I'll call you up and I'll say the word.
You know, I mean, if there's a link that can get to things, I mean, that kind of stuff. Because I really think of what I do as, I'm sort of like the Matrix. I'm trying to put pieces together that others don't often perceive as going together, but it's all one thing here. And so that's why you wonder, what the heck is Jason doing all these years? What's he involved in? I'm trying to put things together that people say, well, that doesn't. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Take a look again.
Yep. And they can also go, we have a Facebook page, Maui Tomorrow Facebook page. Mm-hmm. We have a Maui Tomorrow Twitter account. We have a Maui Tomorrow Instagram account. We have our website, which is mauitomorrow.org.
Right.
And on the website, you can sign up to be on our email list to get alerts and things like that. So we have 5 ways that I can think of right there.
Yeah, that's good.
Getting the word out.
Well, and I know how many people have told me, they think Sierra Club and they think Maui Tomorrow. For some reason, I guess there's been such a close symbiotic relationship between you guys.
We do share a lot of the same issues, and Sierra Club is more environmentally oriented, and we're more planning and quality of life oriented.
I see.
So there is a lot of overlap between those issues, and we do work well together.
Do you foresee any things that the public can do right now to be helpful to you? To stay aware of issues and things. And there any besides contributions, I'm sure always help.
Just subscribe to our newsletter and check out our Facebook page. A lot of people prefer Instagram, so everything we put out on Facebook, we're doing on Instagram and Twitter as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to testify too now because of COVID. Everything is virtual, including testimony before the council. And I'm hoping that that's going to stay permanent after the pandemic is over with, which hopefully it will be soon. And even I found out recently that even the state legislature is going to be allowing virtual testimony
Great.
on Zoom, which is great because one of the big problems for Neighbor Islanders has been having to get on a plane and get to the Capitol and then get home. And we've been really hoping and asking for virtual testimony at the state legislature for a long time. And now it's happening. Hopefully they won't get rid of that after the pandemic. But
maybe they'll see how much more efficient and effective it is.
it's certainly going to save
Yeah.
on a lot of air fuel.
And and like you say, the input from the neighbor islands can be great and needs to be, brought into perspective the way it needs to be. Just like, and funny as it seems, like the Department of Human Services at the county here, when they do things and they send them through the mail, and you wonder, well, why aren't they using email for that? I don't know what some of these systems here, maybe it just, the cost of upgrading to be in the 21st century is so much for some of these organizations that they're lagging behind, or insurance companies that won't send insurance cards through email, only will mail them. It's amazing to me.
I have a lot of answers, Jason, but I don't have an answer for that one.
Do you, when I talk to you, I often leave the ball up to you because I think that you're kind of looking over the horizon. Any other issues or things that the public can do to prevent some of these things that you have to take care of, or any just general recommendations on things that you see that can shift some of the future problems?
Well, I think just being involved as much as you can. It's difficult if you're working all the time, and that's why a lot of people who don't have the time to put into all of this, they just figure it's easier for them to send a check and make a donation, and we can represent the INA for them at the county council and the legislature, etc. But just staying in touch with everything. It's getting easier and easier online. And visit our Facebook page. We try to keep people apprised of the issues that are out there. There's one that I want to talk a little bit about. There's an effort at McKenna State Park. The state apparently has a couple $1 million that they've gotten, and they want to actually be expanding the parking lots there and installing showers. I'm very concerned about both of those issues. I don't know if you're aware of this, Jason, but McKenna State Park, the water there is like really, 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 really clean. Much cleaner than if you go north to Kihei, or even Wailea sometimes can be clear and sometimes not. But the waters at Makena are really pristine. Um, it's just a beautiful area. And so we're concerned about some of the impacts from having too many people there, especially people who are putting it on suntan lotion, and the carrying capacity of that park has yet to be determined. I'm convinced that it's much lower than it is, so why are we going to be expanding parking lots? I am opposed to doing that. Similarly, I'm opposed to putting showers there because right now McKenna State Park doesn't have any showers, and there's a certain kind of person who won't go to a beach because there's no shower there. If we put in showers, then those people will say, okay, I can go there too now, and that will increase the number of people that go there. The beach at McKenna is a known nesting site for the hawksbill turtles, which are endangered. That's one of the places where they're found consistently. So having more people there, having potential runoff from showers, just more people with suntan lotion in the water. When we preserved McKenna State Park, one of the objectives was to keep it as sort of a wilderness park, which at the time, it was out beyond the end of the road, and now it's not. There's many, many expensive homes beyond McKenna State Park, but as much as possible, we would like to keep the wilderness character of the park.
Well, that's a great one. That's something people can make their comments known to the people, right, that are going to do that.
We're expecting that the state parks, Hawaii State Parks, is going to be putting out an environmental assessment claiming that expanding the parking lots and putting in showers will have no significant impact on the park. And we just don't feel like that's the case, that they will need to do an environmental impact statement and disclose the significant impacts of this kind of expansion.
You just refuted it right here. Now you've saved them hundreds of thousands of dollars. Terrific.
Well, I've been trying that. We actually were meeting with them and a group of people who care about the park called the Oneloa Coalition, because it's not that the real name of the beach is Oneloa, which means it means big beach, but in Hawaiian it's Oneloa. So the Oneloa Coalition has been meeting and talking about these issues. Some of the people on the coalition are adamant and they're in favor of showers. Other people are adamant and they don't want showers. But it's been very clearly discussed that an environmental assessment that assumes no significant impacts would be inappropriate. But the State Parks Department is persisting and going in that direction. So we're very concerned about that. And if you care about McKenna State Park, please stay tuned to our Maui Tomorrow Facebook page.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for bringing that up. That's what I meant about staying ahead of it and being an influence before it erupts. Sounds like just a little only before. When are they doing this formally? Is that coming up now?
You know, last I heard is they were still doing archaeology because there are some archaeological sites in the area. There was a lot of cultural use there before. So I think they've just been kind of delayed by the pandemic. I don't know when they're going to come out with it, but we're watching.
Okay. Well, I know you're busy, and I thank you for taking your precious time to be here with us. You know, I like to think we have people on this show that need to stay in public view. I want the public to know there's an Al Perez and Maui Tomorrow way ahead of you in an emergency. I want to see support coming out for things that are really saving this place. Yeah, what can I say? Your work is absolutely significant, and I've always been a big Al Perez fan. I'm sure you know that. But
Thank you, Jason.
I'm
Thank you.
hoping that, you're welcome, that if there's anything important that we can do to help, we always want to. Anything that you want to be sure to tell these people before we let them go?
Well, I just think that, if you really value the work that Maui Tomorrow does, that you should tell other people, because the reality is that most people still don't know about us. We have really high expenses. We try not to have to litigate, but sometimes the developers, the government, whatever the case may be, there's a real determination to go ahead with these projects that are not good for the Aina. And so sometimes we do have to litigate, and that's expensive. And the way that we cover those expenses is with private donations from the public. We don't get any grants. That's how we do it. So we're able to do the work that we do because of people like you.
Gotcha. And people with deep pockets, but also hopefully you get some attorneys that do pro bono.
We do get some advice pro bono. We get some, but the bottom line is it's very expensive to do litigation, especially to sustain litigation over a period of decades. Yeah. Like with that Mega Mall situation, that was very expensive. And we did get some significant donations from the community. But in order to remain an effective force that developers would respect, they're going to think twice if they know that Maui Tomorrow is there and ready to litigate if necessary.
And we thank you. I mean, I thank you for everybody here on Maui and elsewhere that believes and loves Maui. Thank you for all you've been doing. Thank you for joining me here today. I know it's we're 2021 and God knows exactly what's happening in the future, but whatever it is, we want to be here to lead Maui in a great direction towards self-sustainability and doing the right thing, which is great.
Yep, Maui still has a chance.
That's because of you, my friend. Well, thank you all of you out there for joining us. I'm going to say goodbye from me, and Al, thank you for joining me here today. And we will see you again. Aloha.
Thank you, Jason. Aloha.
Well, thank you all for joining us today. Al Perez is a great guest. We'll have him back as things keep happening here and things we need to be aware of here on Maui. I am going to go out. I'm going to play a 1.5-minute intro that is on our website, mauiartsandmusic.org, talking about our overall vision of what we're hoping to do with all this stuff. Aloha. Aloha. My name is Jason Schwartz. I'm the director of the Maui Arts and Music Association, also known as MAMA. We're also known as PAPA, and we're also known as the DreamMakers Foundation, all wrapped up. MauiArtsAndMusic.org is our website, and our vision is to promote art and music and culture of the islands and educate people about environmental solutions and implement them here. And the money that we make through putting on these shows and promoting art, music, culture, environment, tourism in a responsible way will go towards supplement development of important technologies and implementation. If you look at the website, you'll see we focus on 3 environmental areas. So for example, as we're making money and we're creating jobs with that money by buying product and by putting money into helping manufacturing ramp up, by putting money into the delivery of product and then use in the community as an example to the world, a self-sustainability model. We'll also, of course, create jobs for artists and musicians, and we'll be able to sell and share art all over the world and have people all over the world support this vision of a matrix of a community taking part together and creating an environmental economic model. And that's what this is. So I hope you'll be part of it in some way, in many ways. Aloha.